We're going to be going into our third and final talk for the tonight from Andrew Cameron, and he's going to be talking about reimagining wealth. So come on up.
Thank you, Aidan. I want to start by calling out the elephant in the room. I know you're all thinking it. What qualifications does Andrew have to talk about wealth? Thank you. Oh, I like that. I like that. Because Jazz has a home. Joe's had a career. So am I wealthy? That's what you're wondering. And the answer is no. But I do have a background in finance, believe it or not. Before I was a pastor, I did a degree in accounting and economics. I worked this is my secret, I don't tell many people, don't tell anyone, but I was an accountant for PricewaterhouseCoopers and worked as an energy pricing analyst for Energy Australia, did a bit of strategic consultancy. So that was my first career before I went into ministry. So I understand wealth. I don't have it, but I understand it. Kind of like how a non-astronaut understands space travel or a chinchilla understands swimming. Now that joke only works if you know that a chinchilla can't swim. Noted. So I'm not here to tell you how I became wealthy. That'll disappoint some of you, I know, but what I am here tonight is to talk about what the Bible tells us, and really, I genuinely believe the Bible gives us a message of hope and of freedom when it comes to our wealth. Now, you've probably seen some charts. They're all over the internet, and so whenever you look at wealth building, the charts will look something like this. So generally, when it comes to wealth, charts head in one direction. And they're usually represented by steps or a ladder or even sometimes a mountain that you're supposed to climb. Now, something like that, all wealth building charts are quite intimidating, but we can often just kind of swipe past them and dismiss them. But there's one chart that has kept me up at night. It might have kept you up at night. It's a bit harder to ignore. And it's the kind of chart like this that says, this is how much super you should have at a particular age. There are other variations of it that say this is how much income you should have, how much savings you should have, what your net wealth should be. So these charts are out there. And, you kind of plot yourself on there somewhere. And for, I think, a lot of us, we realize that we are not where we're supposed to be. I think one of the most common feelings we can have when it comes to wealth is anxiety. Anxiety about falling behind, or about not having enough to retire on, or not having enough to live on for what we need right now, or as we've talked about, to buy a home, to live the life that we want. I am familiar with anxiety about wealth. So between the ages of 24 and 35, I went to Bible college. I became a full-time soccer missionary. Yes, that is a thing. And I was a pastor over in the US. And so for an 11-year period, I didn't save anything, I didn't buy any shares, and I didn't put $1 into super. So, if you were to look at a chart at that time of where I was, then I had fallen way behind. My big regret is that in 2015, I didn't buy just 10 Bitcoin. At like a few $100s each, because the situation would be dramatically different now if I had have done that. So I'm behind. And in that time, in those 11 years, not only am I falling behind on my super, but I'm seeing, as we've talked about, the house prices go up and my friends' incomes go up at the same time. Anxiety about wealth isn't unique to us. It's been part of human experience for thousands of years. And we know that because Jesus himself spoke into it. In Luke 12, he said, "Do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about your body, what you will wear. For life is more than food, and the body more than clothes. Consider the ravens. They do not sow or reap. They have no storeroom or barn, yet God feeds them. And how much more valuable you are than birds." So Jesus speaks to our anxieties about wealth, and he says, relax. Life is more than food or clothes or homes or cars. God will give you what you need. And I've experienced that reality as well. Even if the charts tell me I'm behind, I'm now of a certain mid-age and I've never lacked anything that I've truly needed. God has always provided for me in each stage and each season of my life. There's a technical term when it comes to investing and wealth building that you might have heard before. It's called an investment horizon. Put your hand up if you've heard of an investment horizon before. Oh boy, okay. So, an investment horizon, guys, you're learning tonight. All right, chinchillas can't swim. An investment horizon. Okay. So, an investment horizon is basically the number of years until you will reach your financial goal. Okay? So, play it out. Young adults, for most of you, if we're talking about your retirement investment horizon, we're talking about 40 to 50 years. Okay, so that's why generally with retirement they'll say, hey, you can do risky stuff because you got a long time. So that's an investment horizon. An investment horizon is different from an event horizon. An event horizon is the point at which all matter and light gets sucked into a black hole. Third fact, you're welcome. So investment horizon is part of wealth building. And Jesus actually invites us to reimagine our life with a different investment horizon. He says, "But seek his kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well. Do not be afraid, little flock, for your Father has been pleased to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions and give to the poor. Provide purses for yourselves that will not wear out, a treasure in heaven that will never fail, where no thief comes near and no moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." So what Jesus is saying to his followers and to us is, don't think about your investment horizon as just from here until when I can buy a home, or from here until when I have a family, or from here until when I retire. It's not about the next 5 or 10 or 20 or even 50 years. It's about the next billions of years. For Christians, that is our investment horizon. And so what Jesus says to us is, so don't chase earthly things that are just going to pass away. Invest into the things that will stay with you into eternity. There's a little clue in this verse that tells us how we might practically go about doing that. And it's these words where Jesus says, "If anyone has material possessions and sees a brother or sister in need but has no pity on..." Oh, so that's the wrong one. That's my next verse. "Do not be afraid, little flock, for your Father has been pleased to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions and give to the poor." What Jesus is inviting us to is a life of generosity and compassion for others, where we develop an instinct where we see a person's need and we meet it, even if it comes at a cost to us, even if there's a sacrifice involved, even if it comes at the expense of us achieving a financial goal that we might have for ourselves. Jesus says, don't worry. Keep your eyes on eternity, and then in this life, if someone needs something, give it to them. This is the John quote I started to read. He says it a bit more directly. If anyone has material possessions and sees a brother or sister in need but has no pity on them, how can the love of God be in that person? Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth. As young adults, you have an incredible opportunity to be generous. And I know it might not feel that way necessarily when you don't feel like you have a lot of money or possessions to be generous with. For me, the biggest donation I've ever given to any ministry in my life, I gave when I was 22 years old. And I know, even in this room, that there are young adults or people who used to be young adults who in their young adult years have given incredibly generous gifts. It's not about your age, it's about hearing that invitation from Jesus to live a life of compassion and generosity. Just think about the opportunity that we have to meet the needs of others, to care for widows and orphans, to provide for those who don't have what we have, or also that we have to support the work of churches and ministries, that we can strengthen our persecuted brothers and sisters around the world. We can give to causes of justice. We can do that. You can do that. And that's what Jesus invites us to, that we develop these habits of generosity and compassion, and then that we would feel the joy of giving, the joy of using what we have to bless and serve and love others. That's what Jesus promised to us. It says it is more blessed, which means more joyful, more fulfilling to give than it is to receive. One of the traps I think young adults can get into is to think, but all the older generations have more money than us. So surely, if anyone is called to give and to support people in need, surely it's the boomers. They got to be the first cab off the rank, right? And Gen X, step up for once. I'm a millennial. We're perfect. But you can feel that way. You can feel like, well, you know, the older guy, they have more money, so why aren't they sorting this out? Why do we have to sort it out? And what I want to say to you about that is there's something you need to understand about wealth. It is never enough. It is never enough. Now, it's true, the older generations do, on average, have more wealth than you. And I do know some really generous people of older generations than you. But what I've also seen, now that I've lived a bit, is that as soon as you have something, you want the next thing. When you're renting, you want to own. When you own a unit, you want to own a townhouse. When you own a townhouse, you want to own a freestanding house. When you own a freestanding house, seems like it'd be better if you had a house with a pool or a view, or that was in a better catchment for your kids' schools. Even if you were someone who had a superannuation balance above the curve, can I tell you, because I see it everywhere, it won't feel like enough. You will still want more. That's the nature of wealth. And that's why you guys have more of an opportunity to be generous and to live with compassion than people from older generations. Remember the parable of the sower? When Jesus said that there was seed that would be scattered and then the weeds would choke it. Representing what he said was the deceitfulness of wealth. It happens. I've seen it happen, and it often happens without you even realizing that it's happening. The more you accommodate wealth, the more you think about it, the more you pursue it, the less fruit, the less generous, the less compassionate you'll be. If you've dabbled, I'm not going to ask you to put your hand up, but if you've dabbled in fantasy leagues or sports betting, or maybe some of you might have even done a bit of day trading, then one thing you realize when you get into that kind of thing is it's not even so much about the money, it's the time, it's the thinking. It's the way it can consume your thoughts. And that's what wealth does. And I think one of the biggest reasons we get sucked into this pursuit of wealth is not just because we want pleasure or comfort, which we do, but it's because having wealth gives us a sense of control. It helps us to feel like we are in control of our future. We're in control even of our present. And that, again, is why I want to say to you, take the moment that you have now in your life, before the complexities come, before marriage, too late for some, and kids, also too late for some, and mortgages, and big incomes and big expense, before all that starts to clutter your life and you start to be sucked away into the constant cycle of wealth building and dissatisfaction. Use this moment to build your habits of generosity and compassion. Jazz encouraged us in an incredible way to pursue kingdom over comfort. Joe brought such wisdom to call us to pursue calling over career. I want to encourage you to pursue compassion over control. It's not wrong to enjoy your life. It's not wrong to enjoy the good things that God has given you in your life. It's not wrong to want kids or marriage or a family or a home big enough to put kids and wife or husband into. None of those things are wrong. But be careful. Decide today that you're going to give your anxieties about wealth to God. Decide today that you're going to guard yourself against the deceitfulness of wealth. Decide today that you're going to build habits of generosity and compassion in your life. Decide today that you're going to release your need for control. And you're going to trust God in every step of your life. So as we finish, not just this talk, but our evening, I want to invite you to reimagine your life with me. This is a Facebook post that, this is my friend Jeff, he's from the US, and he posted this on his birthday a month ago. Richest man in the world. And I'm sure you've seen or heard people express similar sentiments that reminds us that family is the most important thing. And if we expand that out, we remember Jazz's words that family isn't just about biology. Family are the people that we share space with, we share our hearts with, we share our homes with. the neglected children, the rebellious teens, the widows or single parents, the lonely grandparents. We have an opportunity to expand our family, and that includes also our brothers and sisters in Christ, which is why I'm so passionate about this ministry and why I'm so excited to see all of you here together tonight. We also have the opportunity to expand through our work, as Joe shared with us, to take that golden thread, those Christ-centered values into our workplaces and bring light to the people that we encounter there. And then also through our money and our possessions, we can show compassion to those in need. We can support missionaries who are sharing the gospel around the world. We can care for the persecuted church. We can reach out to those who need justice and aid. We can expand our family. What if this, what you see up there, and you can imagine it in your own mind, what that might look like for you. But what if this actually is the measure of our life? Not the home we live in, or our marital status, or how many children we have. Not our paycheck, or our job title, or our years of service. Not our bank balance, or our super account, or our asset values, but our relationships. The people that we share our lives and our hearts with. The people that we share our homes with, and that we will share our eternal home with God Himself dwelling among us. This, I believe, and if you can imagine that as the crew that you're going to hang with in heaven, this is true wealth. This is the life, the full life that Jesus calls us to. Have a chat.